Welcome to today's Iris session, brought to you by BrightRock, provider of the first ever life insurance that changes as your life changes. I'm David O'Sullivan. Today we're here to talk about family-friendly and budget-friendly things to do these holidays. Now, parents of school-going children can attest, boredom is the enemy. There are few things in life as whiny and potentially destructive as a bored child. And now the battle to keep the kids busy is about to become very real, with the summer holidays upon us and parents desperately looking for ways to keep their kids out of trouble for 36 days straight. Our competition, in which 3 lucky winners stand a chance to win 6 movie tickets each for sharing their ideas for the holidays, will be closing in 15 minutes. And we'll be sharing some of those ideas later in the program, so stay tuned. But back to our studio guests. Today we're joined by mommy blogger and writer, somebody who's been with us before in the Iris session, Stacey Vee. We've got singer and dad Lloyd Cele, and journalist and parent Bronwyn Smedmor as well. Welcome to all 3 of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll start with you, Lloyd. We kind of consider you our celeb of the panel.
Well, thank you.
And I would imagine that now is actually quite a difficult time for you, because you've got the kids, you've got this incredible singing career, the kids are on holiday, but it's silly season. I'd imagine you're in demand.
Yeah, no, it's really, really crazy. I mean, this week alone, I haven't had a break to sort of stop singing for the past 3 weeks. And I'm constantly taking vitamin Bs.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, just to keep my energy up and my body up to speed. So it's been really crazy, but I love it though. You know, it's that time of the year where you can't complain about work because it's not always this busy throughout the year. So I'm really fortunate to have incredible fans that still love what I do and they still support me, and to still be booked out after 6 years. And it is a blessing.
Can I say it's been the fastest 6 years?
I know. I know my son is 7 and I still can't believe that he's 7.
It's remarkable how fast this has all gone. And it's also remarkable, I said to you before the show started, that it's also remarkable that you were the runner-up. You weren't the winner of Idol. But
many people think that I won.
Yeah, well, I did. And you have certainly been one of the most prominent of the Idol winners.
I've stopped trying to convince him that I didn't win anymore. I'm like, thank you, just thank you.
But it's given you that platform to increase your career. But let's talk about being a dad. Tell me about the little one. Because you surprised me by coming in saying he graduated. I'm looking, how old are you? But it wasn't university. Grade 1.
Grade 1, yeah, grade 1 this morning. My son just graduated from grade 1. So it's been a stressful year, because grade 1, suddenly you have this bunch of homework every single day. You're just bombarded with lots of work. And then he does cricket, he does hockey, he does swimming. And he wants to do literally everything. Then there's athletics as well, which is online. And
sorry, he's grade 1.
Grade 1.
And he does hockey and athletics.
He does hockey, he does athletics, he does swimming. What else does he do? Jeez.
Well, that's enough for a
He does cricket as well, and rugby. Yeah, and he does rugby. Can you believe that?
Well, that's extraordinary.
I'm not ready.
I don't know if you had the same reaction as I did when he said that grade 1 is so stressful. It's only grade 1, my friend. You've got another 11 to go. It can be quite stressful.
Yeah. So we have 2. Our son, and his name Levi, and our daughter is 4. Her name's Zoe, and she's the spicy one.
Now, she would, I imagine, she's got you wrapped around her little finger.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's the way it always works. What do you do to keep the kids occupied?
Ooh, you know, we've just broken 2 iPads.
Yes.
Again.
So
I know. I just don't know what to, because they love technology. So when that's not happening, when Xbox not happening, or PlayStation, I send them outside so that they can do sports. You know, sports seems to be the thing where it keeps them going. Fortunately, I love sports myself. So we do soccer together, and we swim together, and those kind of things. But also gardening as well seems to be quite fun.
Really?
Yeah, my son is just intrigued about life and about plants having to grow and watering them and see what the progress is. That kind of stuff seems to be really fascinating him. And my daughter is also she does whatever she sees her brother does. She just tags along and becomes a part of it. She hates to be left out of anything. But yeah, we really do try to create stuff. I mean, even board games seems to be quite fun these days at home. My son's into Snake and Ladder. That's like a revelation.
I can't wait for the board games. Yeah. Bring it on.
But my problem is the kids, they get the board games on the iPad, and now they're still on the iPad. And I'm saying it does actually exist in physical form.
Yes, it's very archaic, but you can open the box and put the game out.
That's
It's
right.
best on the board game, because
It really is.
That's right.
I didn't know that.
I'm going to use a different word, manipulate, because quite often you don't want to actually adhere to the strict rules. You can make up
Yeah.
your own
Make your own
family
rules.
rules.
Exactly.
The iPad won't allow that.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. Buy the actual board game. Bronwyn, tell me about your life as mum and keeping the kids occupied.
I've got a son who's 12 and I've got a baby who's 9 months old. So a very big gap between them. I've got a son who's incredibly active. So Liam, the older one, is incredibly active. Also does every sport under the sun at school, hockey, everything. And he's just started rock climbing. So
Wow.
weekends for him, a lot of the time is rock climbing with dad. So they'll go, there's some lovely places in Joburg that are very cost effective. So they'll go there for practice and Wonderwall, yeah. And then with his uncle, he'll go out into the more natural environments and go and do rock climbing with him on weekends as well.
Can you actually watch him rock climbing if
Do
he
you know-
goes into the real world?
I think the rock climbing is the safer one because when he was 3 years old and in school, he climbed the outside of the jungle gym up to the top, the rocket, and sat at the top and called his teacher and said, "Look, teacher vet, look what I can do."
And there's only one way to get him down.
Yeah, no.
Come down and walk away.
Yeah.
Don't watch him coming down.
Very much so.
Yeah, you don't want him feeding off your own anxiety.
Very much so.
Oh,
yeah.
that's crazy.
So
He must be very brave, huh?
yeah, no, he's got no fear.
Does he love
He
extreme sports like in
loves
general?
anything like that. Anything that
Wow.
is extreme, anything that gets his blood racing, he thoroughly enjoys doing that.
But what you've got in common is you've got these boisterous little boys
Yes.
who love adventure and love exploring. So is that easier then to keep them occupied during the holidays than a kid now? Stacey and I will talk about other kind of kids. We've got our special needs kids with different kettle of fish. But do you find that makes it easier to deal with them?
I think it definitely does. When my son was a bit younger, obviously you get the I'm bored, I've got nothing to do because holidays are so long. One of his favorite TV shows ever was Survivor. So we used to do Survivor challenges. So in the morning we'd wake up and say, okay, so today for Survivor, this is your immunity challenge, this is this challenge. And he had to go and do things in the garden, or he had to go and find something somewhere. Or if we were away, then he had to go and do 10 laps around the swimming pool and then go and do this and then come back. And he had all these characters in his head from the show, and he would race against them and, you know,
That
go
is
and do
fabulous.
those types of things.
What
Yeah.
I'm getting, the two ideas I've got gardening from you, Lloyd, which I think is a stunning idea. Just letting the kids create things, get a veggie garden going or something, and playing in the mud. Come on, how much fun is that? You make paths and riverways and things like that. And this idea of making a TV game, a reality show in your own backyard.
Yes.
I love that idea as well. Now, Stacey, you've got a brood, haven't you? 3.
Yes,
Three
so
of
I
them.
have Travis, my eldest, who has special needs,
Yes.
and he's quite interesting to try and entertain because he's very specific in his interests.
But
Then I've
because
got,
he was your oldest,
Yes.
it's easier to adapt to that, isn't it?
it's almost like I had to adapt to raising regular kids when
we
his
know
little
no
brothers were born because I didn't know any other way. And then quite interestingly, so my middle child, Ryan, who's 5, he is into extreme sports. Well, I think they're extreme sports as well. So yes, he is easier to keep entertained. His current thing is building ramps and obstacle courses in our garden, especially after it rains. And then he takes his Diamondback bike, which I've only learned recently is a very cool brand to have,
Okay,
apparently.
good to know.
And then he ramps through the garden, and then he insists that I make videos of them so that he can watch himself being cool.
That's very nice. And then the youngest?
And then my youngest, Oliver, he's a very different kind of boy. He is the boy that is craftsy. I have to bring my craftsy mom skills to entertain him, which do not come naturally to me. So I've had to be very creative this December and find ideas that we can do together at home to keep him busy.
Okay, so
So-
it's a bunch of boys we're really kind of
I
focusing
know.
on here. So your youngest is a daughter?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're
We've
going to have to
got
find
one girl
things.
in the house.
Yeah.
We're looking for the girl. Your daughter is...
We don't have a daughter. We've
Yeah,
got
the
2 boys.
second one's a boy.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And 3
So
boys.
we're looking at you for the thing for the little girls. Otherwise, I'm relying on you guys to go back into your childhood and remind yourself of what was good. But Stacey, I think what I'm picking up from you, though, is the idea of arts and crafts and making things. And
Yes.
where do you get the ideas from?
Mostly I get them online.
Very good. Google is your
Yes,
friend.
Google is my friend, and then other moms share ideas with me as well. And I think because I'm a blogger, I'm sort of in that.
Yeah.
I get asked quite often to write pieces on how to keep the kids entertained. So it challenges me as well to find some cool things to do. So I have some craftsy ideas to share with you,
Very
if you
good.
like.
Oh,
Okay.
absolutely.
Can I
Come
share?
on. Yeah,
Right.
let's
so
see what you got.
I've been saving these all year. So I'm sure you recognize these.
Yes. Cool
What
drink
you do-
bottles.
Yes, what you do with these cool drink bottles is you drink all the cool drink,
That's the easy
wash
part.
them out, you make little slits in the side, and you thread straps through them, and they become rocket packs for your kids. So you paint them with silver paint, and you can take some cardboard and make flames shooting out the bottom, and you make them their own rocket packs, and
Go on,
it's
let me have a
really
look.
easy to do.
So
It's
you,
a really-
you haven't actually cut the holes
No,
yet.
I haven't,
Okay, so
yeah.
so you just
So
make an incision.
you would cut a slit over here, and over here, and over here, and over here, and thread a strap through here, and a strap through over there.
So it sort of looks like rockets in
It does. It does.
You put
And
a
they,
strap around them, maybe.
Yeah.
you do, and they go just like a backpack.
Yeah.
Perhaps take a backpack to see what they look like, and then yes, you make them their own rocket pack. So this is I haven't tried this with the boys yet. This is my big showstopper this December.
Can I tell you already, I know with my 5-year-old it's a winner. Because dressing up in some kind of costume and assuming the character of a superhero of some form is I think the Ghostbusters have things like that.
Yes, they do.
And so he'll be a Ghostbuster.
And Ghostbusters was big this year. So
Yes, that's
yes,
right.
they had the all-girl Ghostbusters
A very
this
good
year.
movie as well. So that's a fantastic idea. You've got a
Yes.
few other props there.
Oh, I do. Okay, I don't want. So
give us one more.
This is take one roll of masking tape. This is the stuff when you're painting around
Yeah.
the edges in the house, and then you put it there so you don't paint on the skirting boards. Now, what you do with this tape?
So you could do a whole DIY show with Stacey as
a
well.
whole DIY show. So what you do with your tape is, I don't know if I should put this on the carpet. Don't use your nice carpets in the house, but it doesn't actually stick very much.
No,
You'll
that's
find
very-
it's quite.
Yeah, that's not
Yeah.
sticky.
And you make race tracks in your house, and you can let your kids do it themselves. So they can make like little parking lots, and they can make the movies over here, and they can make little shops out of old cornflakes boxes. And that is my second showstopper for December. So I'm going to break it out towards Christmas time when we're about 2 weeks into the
You
holidays.
see, I'm not scared about giving brands a mention here because otherwise we don't identify with it. But when you were explaining this to me before we went on air, you used the brand Hot Wheels.
Yes.
Now, all little boys, I don't know if your kids are
Yeah.
like this,
Oh, yes.
Hot Wheels,
So many.
Yeah.
for us,
Very
when I
much
was growing up, it was the Matchbox cars, but Hot Wheels is now the brand that's taken over. All the boys love Hot Wheels. But now the thing is, if you're going to then go and buy all the accoutrement that goes with it,
It's so expensive.
so expensive.
Yeah.
Masking tape, can I tell you, is not.
I think it's like 10 or like R9.99 a
And
roll.
toilet rolls for tunnels. So you
Oh,
create the
that's a great
tunnels,
idea. I
and
love
you put
that.
tunnels through, and
Yeah.
you can have them going through the tunnels.
So we've got the cereal boxes, we've got
Yes.
the toilet roll
Yeah.
holders, and we've got a bit of masking tape. We've got an entire racetrack
Yes.
Exactly.
that is set up.
And they can change it every day.
Yeah. Or maybe even using chalk, and you draw outside on the
Great
floor.
idea.
Because I was just thinking, because you mentioned about stuff that we used to do when we were kids,
Yeah.
and the first thing that came to my mind was, I'm sure you guys experienced it. There was this game, I don't know what it was called.
Was it
yeah,
hopscotch with
where
the
you draw
numbers?
numbers on the floor. There was like blocks, and then some of the blocks came on the side,
Yes.
and then you
Yes.
throw a stone over it, and then you jump over, make it to the other end, and come
I
back.
remember that.
You know, those kind of stuff. I mean, we should start introducing those to our kids. Even the ones with the tins, where you would put like 3 tins, one on top of the other, like those cool beans tins, whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you used to try to, and then you stand far. We didn't have tennis balls back then, so you would make your own tennis ball, which you'd probably use like a sellotape or take plastics and squash
Yes,
them
just
up
make
really
this.
hard and wrap them up with
sticky
the tape
Yes.
Yes.
until you get like a ball. And
Yes.
you stand far and you try to hit those tins. You know, things like
My
that
boys
as
would
well.
love that.
Yeah, I used to go hours on those.
Serious competitive streak as well.
Take some boxes as well on a skateboard and build a go-kart on top of your skateboard. So
Yeah.
it's got the
Brilliant
wheels and build
idea.
build a
Yeah.
go-kart.
You see, I just wonder in the digital
Writing
age where the
this
kids
down.
look at this and go, that's so 1960s.
Do
We
you know
don't.
what?
Yeah.
I found that my boys don't really. I've actually found my boys have become quite good at moderating their own screen time lately. You know, they'll spend like about 20 minutes, sometimes 40 minutes playing a game, but they put the iPad down and they go outside and they play 4 hours, sometimes even longer than that.
That's good.
So I think you just
You're
got to
right.
give your kids the options, and then they'll.
Yeah.
I think also the encouragement and the participation from a parent
Yes.
goes a long way.
Mm.
So, you start the activity with them and then encourage them through it. And what have you done on it today? And you're building a go-kart, okay, so what colour are you going to paint it? What are you going to do with this? And it becomes a topic of conversation and something they then want to carry on with.
Because the arts and crafts shops have never gone out of business. I mean, or even just a simple stationery shop like CNA or something like that. They stock all the stuff that you would want. It's just a case of using your imagination.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And if you think, well, I don't have any ideas, well, here are a few ideas coming here. and then Google is your friend.
Yes, yes. But then, of course, remember, it's challenging for working parents as well, especially before their companies close. So I think it's from about when do schools close? Next week, Wednesday?
Wednesday,
the
yes.
7th. So it's from about the 7th, and I think most companies close maybe about the 15th or the 16th,
Which
and
is a
sometimes even
Thursday this year. Yeah.
Yes, and that's when the challenge comes in. So you're at work, and then how do you keep your kids busy?
That's
I don't
right.
have the answers, by the way. I know when we were both working, we would plan weekend activities during the holidays. So it was a mix of arts and crafts, or we would go on an outing. But of course, it's really, really expensive to take the whole family on several outings
No, it is
during
very
December. It really adds up.
Well, we were talking a little earlier about going to venues, and I think that automatically you've then got to look at the budget,
Yes.
because they are quite expensive to go to places. I think it's great as the treat, but we're not saying, well, you can go to the, I don't know, the dirt track or what are these trampoline clubs and things like
They're
that.
very expensive.
I can't even think of the brands. Jump, or I forget what they,
I
something
jump
like
and bounce.
Bounce, those are the places. But they
love
are fantastic places. I would just imagine if you're taking a whole brood of children, it then does become a
And
little
often you
costly.
have to pay for the parents to go in, and all you're doing there is
Is
sitting
watching,
holding the
yes.
bags.
That's right. Yeah. Look, I think there's the time and place for all of that as well. But
it's just not
obviously, when you're looking, especially in tough economic times, you're going to look for the places to do or things to do outside of having to fork out huge amounts of money. And certainly with plastic bottles and bits of masking tape and the existing toys, we've done well. But in terms of the technology that is available and the iPads, who was it? One of you said your kids have broken the iPads?
Jeez, yeah.
Yeah, how many have they broken?
We're on our 4th one now.
Yeah,
I have the big
I see
one.
your 4, I raise you 8.
Oh my gosh.
8 screens. It's now in a drawer and it's not used again. Not for now.
So yeah, with technology, you buy it for yourself and then it never becomes yours with kids.
no.
So they end up taking it. Yeah, they keep breaking them because they drop them all the time. And they love playing on it. And we have Netflix, so they love that, and we have all the devices on Netflix. And when they're fed up with that, then it becomes a matter of, okay, I got to get mommy and daddy's cell phone, and we tend to be like, no on that, because
Yes,
we don't want
where's
that
your
to break.
phone gone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of find like some of the stuff that you can also do, like, if it's like raining or something like that outside, you can create like little small, like basketball, you can play indoor basketball sort of, you get those small little nets which you can tape them up into the wall and you try to throw the ball
yes, I
inside
remember
there.
those.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. If you can't find that, then you take your clothes basket, put it in a corner somewhere, let's stand by and see who can get a ball inside of that, And that kind of stuff works.
Or if you want to integrate technology into the play when they are at home, then there's also create a musical. I know when we were young, we always had big family Christmases, so all the cousins were together, and the highlight for us was putting together a show which wasn't our parents' highlight, but this whole script where we had the singing and we had this whole show and we had all the different tricks that we did, and then putting that on as a play then for the adults at some stage. And we spent hours working on it and perfecting our skills and mastering what we were going to do. Just something a little bit different.
That is fabulously innovative.
I have an idea, which is something my boys are very into at the moment, and it combines sort of technology and then something I did as a child, blanket forts.
Yes.
Come on.
They are becoming, we have the most epic blanket forts happening in our house, and all kinds of things are being used, like chairs, washing baskets, and then they're weighed down on the top. And I think now with Christmas coming up, they'll probably be incorporating some fairy lights there. Please
Yes.
don't burn the house down, guys.
But if you get there's those little battery pack
Yes.
lights, that's the easiest thing. You've got no concern about the lights getting too hot,
on the blankets,
and there's no electricity going there. It's just AAA batteries, whatever they are, and those are absolutely perfect. And if you get the right ones, and you buy them at the Chinese markets,
And they're so cheap.
we're not asking you to look. They'll only last one Christmas, and then that's it. But they have different settings, so they'll pulse or they stay on. And that is absolutely fantastic to do. But the forts, that's, I think, a game for little boys that will never go out of fashion.
Also for big boys. My husband also climbs in underneath the fort.
I was just going to say, we have a camp out once a month where
Yes.
we have the fort that we build, the blanket fort. We've got a summer one and a winter one, so sheets in summer and blankets in winter. And we camp out in the lounge.
Yeah, I just got the problem of in this enclosed space with 2 smelly little boys. I don't survive too long in there, it has to be said. But I think because my kids are growing up in this technological age where PlayStations and little devices, games are so much part of their lives. To wean them off that and say, look, there's a big world out there. Once they explore it, they understand it and they enjoy it, but they'll always come back to their game. And I'm wondering, do you have any ideas about games that are not just mindless shooting and mindless driving, but have you encountered anything where, I don't want it to be hugely educational because they've had that all year, but something that's just going to be a little bit more stimulating in their minds?
There's Minecraft, which is a brilliant one.
They love Minecraft.
Yeah.
Well, my boys
Which
aren't
is
into
the
Minecraft
building.
yet. I'm trying to.
Yeah, my son loves Minecraft and building his palatial homes that he says he's going to live in at some stage, and the swimming pool in the bedroom over there, and all these different plans that he's then building. I think it's a fantastic one if he does want to.
I need to get
play.
it. I've got to get more into Minecraft, but my kids play it.
Yes.
And where do the zombies come in? I mean, at some stage at night, don't zombies appear?
At certain levels, yeah. My son's not interested in that. He's only interested in the building.
Yeah,
So
the
he
actual
will
engineering.
the
Yeah.
engineering
Which is
behind
cool.
what he can build. He loves that.
Well, I must actually explore that a little bit more, but I just remember they're talking so much about the zombies when I was chasing them. I thought, can't you just make the game fun?
Yeah.
Why do we need zombies here?
Yeah.
But when it comes to building things, while I'm a big fan of Lego, the only criticism I have these days is that Lego is specific for that particular model. You buy a box, you build that thing, and that's all you build.
Yes.
So you have to buy several boxes before you have a proper set. Yeah,
That's right. Do they still sell the generic blocks?
Yes, they do.
they do. They do.
I've got to keep an eye out for
I
that.
am. My boys recently tried out it was a chest. It was like a starter kit of that Lego Duplo.
Oh, yes.
So it had all the basics in it, and then one or two of the special blocks, which was better than just buying one of those.
Models.
The one set I found.
Yeah, because that was a great thing for me as a kid growing up, was that you'd have a big box of Lego and then you'd build whatever you want to do. So it'd be a fort one day, a car the next day, a house the next day. But I also imagine that for the cash-strapped parent might be a bit of an issue.
I always say with Lego is quite expensive to buy, but I find that it lasts forever.
It
But
does.
recently my husband pulled, those little brown suitcases? Do you guys
Yes.
remember the
Yeah,
brown
yes,
suitcases from
absolutely.
his childhood? And he opened it up and it was full of all the Lego that he had as a boy. And now my boys are playing with what they call the small Lego, because there was no giant Lego back
Yes.
then. So it lasts and lasts and lasts. So
That's right.
Lego is expensive, but I do think it's one of those things that you'll never regret buying.
Certainly.
Much like my son's bicycles, which were also very expensive,
Yes.
Yeah, you can't
but
go
they've been
wrong.
using for years. Yeah.
Yeah, the bikes are obviously a thing. I like the idea of the track, building the track for the kids.
Yes.
Because if the kids want to ride their bikes, then they've got to go out.
Yes.
Then I've got to be with them, and then I find the paraphernalia that has to go with it is
Yes.
ridiculous. That the helmets and the pads and
Yeah.
things. But how did we survive in the past without all of this
No.
stuff? I think we just fell off and scraped our knees. And
And that was it. And then your mom said, just get up and
Yeah.
just a bit of the mercurochrome, was it?
that's right.
And that was it.
Traffic was less hectic. People were less bolshy on the roads. The place was a bit safer.
Yeah.
We could play on the roads, actually. Most of the time, we always played on the roads and
Yeah.
we never had any issues.
Yes, we actually used to walk to visit our friends who lived in the same neighborhood as us.
Yeah, we
And we didn't have cell phones.
That's right. How mad was that world? Tell the kids today, they don't believe a word of it.
What time are you coming back? When the sun's
Yeah,
gone
when the
down.
sun
Exactly. When the sun comes down was the rule.
There was also always, I know, God, we're reminiscing. We're supposed to give advice, but just a last point about reminiscing. There was always large tracts of open land near the houses.
Yes.
Of course, now everything's developed, but there was always what we'd call the veldt. And you could go in and find the anthills and go prod around in nature.
But you are finding now in some of the areas small bike tracks that are being built by the community.
Yes.
So it's either free to go and ride there, or say 10 Rand a bike, and you can go and spend the morning just with your kids, with them ramping up and down through the different. And it's literally built out of all the dirt that's in that area, and then they sit and they build the tracks, bring some sand in, and they're creating these bike tracks,
Oh,
which is
that's
great.
Fantastic. Yeah, I've got Delta Park right near me, and they've loads
you
of
are
cycling
so
tracks.
lucky. Yes.
Yeah, except we've all the main guys who take this very seriously. They're all there. You pick your time.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
don't-
You make sure. Lloyd, tell me though, with your creative abilities and talents, have your kids turned out to be musical in any way?
They have. My daughter loves to sing. The moment, anything that comes on that's somebody singing, especially Barbie. We have all the Barbies, and she just loves singing along unto them. And she's into Hillsongs as well, Hillsongs Kids, and she loves singing to that. My son is more of a dancer. He loves to dance, and he wants to play the drums. So we've been like, okay, maybe next year we can start you with drums, either drums or guitar, and then we'll take it from there. But I think it sort of has rubbed on to them, and I'm really scared about pushing and forcing them to become what I am, because I don't believe in that. I want them to really just become what they want to become,
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
So they're really just latching on to the music side of me. They love to see me on stage, and whenever they see me on stage, most of the time they will actually run up on stage, and they feel like, if Daddy's on stage, and why don't we come up on stage as well? Then before you know it, I have a whole bunch of kids on stage.
I'm sure the audience doesn't mind that.
No, they don't mind that. If the kids are happy, then you've done a great job, because
Sure.
then the mom and dads are also happy. So it's always fun to see them, you know, just embracing music that way, because I mean, I started embracing music from that early age as well. It became part of me, part of our family. I used to sing just about everywhere. And I think there's a level of confidence that comes into play as well, where you don't actually get scared and shy when you have to stand in front of people.
Yeah.
Because I've never been that person who's scared. Whenever there was an opportunity for me to sing, I'll be the first one to pick my hand up, while everybody else, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm like, why do you do that?
Yeah.
Like, if you can do it, just do it. You know, so I've always been taught to be that person, and I'm seeing that confidence as well in my kids, you know, where they're not really afraid. And especially my daughter, she will try anything. Now she wants to do swimming, and she's only 4, and without the armbands, I'm like, Zoe, you don't know how to hold your breath yet.
That's right.
Just hang on, you know. So
But I would imagine that also helps you in keeping them occupied, because if they've
Yes.
got this desire to stand up and perform in the same way, Bronwyn, you were talking
Yeah.
about
Yes.
putting on the concerts, saying to them, go do a show for Dad. I would imagine your kids would they be up for something like
They
that?
would, certainly. Yeah, they would compete against each other. Because they always do. So I love what you were saying earlier on about where they sort of have to work to get something.
Yes.
You know, like your son, he has to achieve certain things before he actually
Yeah.
gets what he wants. And I strongly believe in that as well. So I try to do that whenever my son says, okay, I want a Lego. Like right now, there's this Lego. He's into Ninjagos. I'm sure you heard of it.
Ninjagos, yes,
Yeah, he
huge.
loves Ninjagos. So I would say, okay,
I have
cool.
no idea about Ninja. What is this? You talk
sort of
foreign
like-
language here.
Lego superheroes.
Yeah, they're
like
like you
They're
remember
animals.
Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but they are like little small. They're ninjas,
Okay.
and they have masks. There's a green one, and there's a
Yeah.
blue one, a black one, and there's a whole bunch of them.
I know the feeling.
And
I know
this
the
is a new
feeling.
world.
they go after the bad guys, and they're crazy over them. Ninjagos is like the popular thing right now. So whenever he wants a different Ninjago, I would tell him, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to get at least 10 stars this week. So whenever I ask you for something from the kitchen, or whenever I ask you to help your mom or your dad, whatever you do, I'll reward you for that, and I'll give you stars. And so he tends to be constantly competing with his sister. So whenever I ask his sister and his sister is not listening, he'll be the one you will run first before you know it, the boat fighting. No, but Daddy said I must get the pillow, you know. But it's a lot of fun, you know.
So you have a whole reward system, do you?
I have a
With
reward
stars?
system. Yeah, I
Okay,
give them
very
stars. So I try to, for every 10 stars, then I can get them something, you know. A small reward just to say, well, you've been listening, you've been obedient. I like that. Well done. Keep it up.
good. Yeah, I like this idea of putting on the show, but unfortunately my kids are just not kind of theatrical in that way. But Stacey, we share a situation with our
Yes.
oldest with special needs. And it's a different world
It
where
really is.
you can't go and do anything loud and boisterous.
Can't go to the movies.
No, the movies tend to
Yeah.
be a little out
Even
of the
just
question.
a little thing like going to get a milkshake is incredibly stressful for them.
Yes.
So what we tend to do with Travis is we take his lead. He is constantly switching interests. So his interest at the moment is swimming.
Right.
He swims so much that if I don't keep my eye on him in the mornings before he goes to school, I will find him in the swimming pool swimming. He takes his clothes off, he gets undressed, and he just goes. So I find it, what my husband and I do is we tend to split up sometimes. So I'll take the little kids and we'll go on an outing and he'll stay at home with Travis and keep Travis occupied. Or we also tend to spend a bit more time at home, I would imagine, than the average family, because it is so difficult for us, the 5 of us, to go out and do something together. So the best way for us to do it is organize to do fun things at home.
And you want to ensure that Travis is in his space that he can control
His
and he's
comfortable
comfortable
space, exactly,
with.
exactly.
And I find my youngest, he tolerates the older boys' peculiarities, if I can call it that, and understands that we can't go to loud places because Mike he's not comfortable there.
Yes.
But because he's the firstborn, for me, that's the way it is with children. So it's not. I don't find
absolutely.
it's not a big problem.
No, me neither. I almost feel like Travis sort of, trained us to be a more conservative style of parenting.
Yeah.
And in fact, I feel like we're trying to keep up with our youngest two constantly. Even when they get invited to play dates, I find myself feeling more anxious than the average mom would, I think, because we don't actually go out as much as most families do.
And do you go to? You say Travis doesn't do movies.
No, he doesn't do movie. Oh my gosh, no. We did try once. That was fun.
Yeah, but I suppose movies now at this time for the other kids, this is movie season, so there'll be a load of animated movies and some dreadful Christmas themed movies. So we have to kind of tolerate all of that.
But movies at home is quite fun.
Yeah,
So we actually.
How does he feel about movies at home? Because
Yeah,
it's a
so
controlled environment.
we do movies at home with the boys, and I was mentioning the blanket fort. Sometimes there'll be a movie inside the blanket fort where they've got a laptop open and I'm feeding popcorn.
Oh yes.
In the, you lift the blanket and you feed the popcorn in the sides. And I've always wanted to do, when you do a movie outside on a sheet, then you would need a friend who has a projector.
Did you
of
see
course.
as well? There was a post recently where someone did that. They shot a movie on a sheet outside,
Oh,
and the
really?
kids
They shot their own movie.
Well, they viewed one. They showed
okay.
one, and the kids all had to create their own car, and they went to the drive-in, and out of boxes they built cars
That's
and
a
parked them
brilliant
in the
idea.
driveway, and then they had the movie showing on a sheet in the driveway. It was fantastic.
Oh, that's a lovely
I always
idea.
say to my friends, you should never throw away, the giant boxes that you get sometimes, because
Yes.
there's so many things you can do for kids with those
Absolutely.
boxes. That you can make them robots, or you
Yeah.
can build a house for
They are
them.
cars,
or-
they are forts, they are houses, they are castles.
They are
Make them
great.
slide down the grass.
Yeah, I was
on
just
it.
going to say
Yeah.
they're
Yes,
great
you
for
fold them
sliding
flat.
Absolutely. I love the fact that we're talking about a lot of ideas that don't cost any money. We're using bits and bobs to do, and it's theatre of the mind, isn't it? It's a lot of living in a fantasy world. And I suppose technology's never destroyed that in kids, has it? And
No, it
certainly not in
hasn't.
my kids. And
I actually find my kids acting out some of the things that they see.
Absolutely, yeah.
They like to watch these toy reviews on YouTube where other kids play with toys.
how mad is that?
It really is mad, and now they want to make their own. Like they'll be like, "Look at me, I'm
God. Just
playing
into
with
that.
this Lego," and then they want to make their own toy review videos.
Yes. But isn't that fabulous when you mentioned, Bronwyn, saying they shot a movie and you thought maybe they made...
Oh my gosh,
But
I thought that was
that-
such a great. I could totally see my boys doing
But
that.
that thing is, you can do that because how many all phones these days, smartphones, have got the video.
Yeah.
So give it to the kids and say,
Yeah,
go
make
make
a
your own
movie.
movie.
Yes.
My kids go and they watch Boomerang on TV and they watch a bit of a Tom and Jerry thing. They'll play it back so they remind themselves and then they act it out. And every now and again, I'll take and I'll video it just for fun and pass it around the family group. But it just seems to me that might be an idea to say, kids, you're going to now make a movie.
Absolutely.
So make a show, go make a movie now.
Yes.
And that, again, is just completely cost effective to do something like that. There's a lovely question here about if there was no budget, they just said, okay, something for the kids to do. What would be on your bucket list of great things to do with the kids?
The greatest thing I would definitely do is to build a kite. I used to love building a kite when I was a kid.
That's such an interesting answer.
Yes.
Because I'm giving you a budget of millions here, Lloyd, and you're building a kite.
I'm building a kite. I used to love kites, and up to now I still love kites. I used to build my own with a bin bag, and then there's a special sticks. You gotta just go and find them. I don't know what the name of those sticks are, but if you look around in the bushes, you'll find them, and then you get 2 of those things, one long one, one short one, and you get little small pieces of strings to tie it up, and obviously you're gonna need a nice long piece of string as well, which I used to use like wool because it's much stronger to hold that, or maybe even cotton, And then to use a tail, you cut it up, You cut a small packet and just make your own tail and tie the ends,
Yes.
And then you put a little small stick at the end, a stone at the end of that, just for balance.
Oh, right.
So I would definitely do that. I haven't built a kite in a long time.
We
but
built
it
kites
was-
as kids, and you've just taken me
Yeah.
back. And you use tissue paper, don't you? You need maybe a couple of layers because you don't want it too thin, but you don't want it weighed down. So you can't use this kind of paper, for example. The only problem I find is building a kite here is that we don't have any wind. But if you're down at the coast, where it's
not a lot of
howling all
wind.
the time, up goes the
And you have
kite.
to find a big open space
Yeah,
as well.
open
We
space.
live in the city.
Yeah.
Yes. Now,
But the thrill of running around, running with
Yes.
it, and you can see it up in the sky is
absolutely
it's fascinating.
right.
You know.
Yeah, if
Great
the wind,
idea.
if there's a bit of a wind, that's a fabulous idea. You do realise that this, in terms of the budget I gave you, is hardly dented.
You could
No,
build
no.
several kites.
I
Yeah,
know.
you could
Many
build a
kites.
massive kite and
Build a huge mansion out of a kite.
yeah, exactly, and put a whole passenger
I just wanted to throw
container.
it out there because it just took me back to when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
it was something that I really used to enjoy doing. And I actually I haven't done it with my kids yet. Well, I have
Me
bought a
neither.
kite for them, but we've actually never built one of our own. And it would be so cool to actually try to build one. And
Because I was kind of going with Disney World, you know.
Oh my
If
gosh,
if
I was going to say Disney World.
Yeah.
I was very lucky as a, I think I was 13 or 14, where my parents took all of us to Disney World. I don't know how they did that. They're probably still paying it off.
yes, that's right. But was that a good
It was
adventure?
just an amazing experience. But if I've taken my kids to Gold Reef City, and I actually find it quite stressful when it's really crowded in the holidays to take your children to a place like that, and the queues are long, and they're eating lots of sugary things, and they're very hyped up, and then they're scared to go on the rides, and then they have second thoughts. So one is crying in the corner, and the other one wants to do it. And but there is something that I want to do this December holidays. So this is if we had a bigger budget, is I want to
Okay.
go to the Cradle of Humankind,
Nice.
because Ryan learnt about caves
Yes.
in the fourth quarter of the year, and he's very into stalactites and stalagmites, and he taught me the difference between the two.
Can you still remember what the
Yes,
difference is?
stalactites hang tight on the ceiling, and stalagmites might reach the ceiling.
You see, I had it the other way around, and I realised that those were tight on the floor and they might come
Oh,
down.
well, you know, I could be wrong.
No, I'm going with you. But I also had one's tight and one might, and that
Yeah.
which still hasn't helped me in remembering which way around. But that's a lovely idea.
But I think it's going to be quite pricey, because, you know, if you want to go take the expensive tickets and see all the exhibitions and go into, there's a cave, because apparently you can go into the centre and then you pay for an extra ticket to go into the caves as well, the Stakfontein caves. So it's like a double.
Okay.
So it would be quite a pricey outing, but
Yeah, the budget
that's-
allows that.
but yes,
There-
because-
that's your.
unlimited, right?
Unlimited
I'd get a
budget one.
helicopter to just drop us off there,
Come on, you could go
skip the traffic.
take my kite.
that massive kite that Lloyd's built. And Bronwyn, do you have any ideas? Budget unlimited. What do you
Unlimited. I'd have to say, I'd love my children to experience South Africa. So I'd love to travel and let them experience parts of South Africa that they know nothing about. You know, my mum, when she was young, grew up as an adventurer with her dad, and so we've grown up with the stories of how they used to travel in the holidays and camp on the side of the road, or go to all these unknown places. And I would love my kids to experience that, to be
That's
able to
amazing.
see parts of South Africa.
It's a great
That's-
idea, and
yeah.
it's something we've started doing. We'd like to go to the coast for holidays, and we'd fly, and it would be expensive, and you go, right, we'll stretch the budget. And then one day we thought, well, what about a nice drive? And I looked at the map and broke it up into segments. So no more than 5 hours in the car on any given day. And then looking at all the places to go to. But what we found as well, go off the beaten track.
Yes.
So
Yes,
if you just
yeah.
go down the N1 or the N3, you're not going to see much because you're just dicing. So now you look at that map and you find other little dorps to go to,
Yes.
Google them, click on images, and find the town square, and you find there's a statue, a church, or something, a landmark. And what we'd do is we'd print those pictures, and then we'd have to go, the kids would have to look out
I
the
love
window,
that idea.
find it,
Yes.
and then we'd take a photograph of them
good.
at that,
Yes.
and they would tick it off. So now they know so much more of the drive
It's like
down.
an amazing race.
And
It-
how nice
Yeah.
when they come back.
Exactly.
History lesson.
And they've got so much to tell
For
the
show
class.
and tell.
Yeah.
For show and tell.
Really good.
But my youngest is Tom, or Thomas, and we were driving along and we saw Thomas Station. We had to go and visit Thomas Station.
Photo, right?
There is a photograph of Thomas standing next to the sign that says Thomas Station. But I learned so much about the country as well. And there's a lovely notion that signposts are invitations. They're not directions. It's an invitation. Let's go there. What the heck? Let's turn
Why
off
not?
and go and have a look at what gets sold there. Why does this place exist?
Yes, definitely.
And I found that to be a fabulous way of doing things. In terms of balancing the kids and the outdoors versus the technology, because obviously they do want to watch their TV shows, they do want to play on the PlayStation. Do you have any hard and fast rules, Stacey, about that? How much?
This is a tough one. You know, I remember reading that if you are going to give your kids screen time, it should be, it should never be more than 20-minute
Yeah.
batches. And the problem these days is if you like a Netflix family.
Yeah.
You know, they just roll on episode after episode. So you actually have to be quite vigilant about that. Sometimes we'll just pretend that the remotes don't work.
Okay.
Or lose the
should try
remote.
that one.
Or take a battery out.
Sadly, sometimes the remotes really are lost.
Yeah, of course.
And they'll go play outside. But I must be honest, I don't find that I have to, you know, really be too strict about it. I just find that my kids, sometimes they don't want to be in front of the TV all the time. Which I think gives me a lot of hope that we're not raising a bunch of square-eyed, monosyllabic.
Yeah, my kids would prefer the TV, unfortunately, and it's a case of actually dragging them out, kicking and screaming. You've got your kid loves to be outside?
He does, but he also loves technology, and so, you know, we went through a stage where we had to be very strict with him and take devices away at certain times.
Yeah.
And then every evening when he goes to bed, he has to read. If he wants to go to sleep, then, you know, he has to read. And because of that, he loves books and series, and he's just finished the Alex Rider series. And, you know, I think now that he's older, and because we forced the issue, it's not such an issue anymore.
Yeah.
But it was a case of having to take devices away and saying there's more to life than just sitting here and watching what you're watching. So
Lloyd, your kids are breaking the devices, so they'll take it away anyway.
Devices,
They're
and
solving the
hence
problem for you.
we had to take them away from them. But yeah, we also, like, when we're not around, that's when it becomes a challenge, when you're not there to actually monitor them. Because when we're there, then we know, okay, she's been watching TV for about 2 hours or so. I think it's time, put it away, go and play outside, do something else. But when we're not there, what we tend to do, we'll call our helper and we tell her, okay, please just make sure that they don't go past a certain time, you know. At 5:30, for example, they gotta go upstairs and have the bath. And when they come down from having a bath, let them do something else other than just watching TV, you know.
Exactly.
So it's sort of just trying to find a balance of having to control it. But it is quite challenging, I have to
But I
admit.
think also then having available for them other things to do. So as an example, have a craft box or something in the house, that there is another option.
Yes.
You know, it's all very well saying you're not allowed to watch TV, but if they kind of then walk around and go, well, then what must I do? You know, have options available for them.
Well, let's, as we get to the end, let's just wrap it up and look at some of the things that we've explored. Obviously, we're saying technology has its role, it's got its place. Don't deny the kids that. They can play on the PlayStation, watch TV, play on the iPad. But then once boredom's setting in there, what are the things we do? And I think we've come up with some lovely ideas. In fact, you've got one more prop down here, Stacey.
Well, let me just show. Okay, so I know this is for my youngest, Oliver. So he's my baking assistant. One thing I haven't mentioned is we actually do quite a lot of baking on weekends and on holidays. Anyway, so we're going to be making Fruit Loop necklaces. These are the cheap Fruit Loops, guys.
Yeah. Fantastic. So what is just a piece of
you
string?
just thread them just with ordinary, I don't know what you call it, it's just that white string that you get. Yes, it's like a twine, that's right.
Okay.
And you just need one of those. You don't even need a needle. It's just so easy to do and make little knots, and you can have necklaces and bracelets and crowns, and yeah, I know my Oliver is really, really into these kinds of things, so he's my craftsy boy.
I reckon if you Googled things to do with Fruit Loops,
oh my gosh,
you would get any number of ideas.
Fruit Loop earrings.
Yes, but I think what we've established here is that you can take everyday things that you would normally discard.
Yes.
We've spoken about the bottles, tape, boxes and things like that, and allow the kids' imaginations to run riot. And that would be something to do.
Absolutely.
Create things out of nothing. That would be one of the important things. The arts and crafts, I like the idea of a crafts box. What would you put in a crafts box?
Well, you would have your different papers, your glues, maybe scissors that cut in different patterns, some glitters, anything really that they can use to construct. Sticky paper is always great
And
to
a great
create
place
patterns.
is China Mall to get these things.
Yes.
I have
Absolutely.
learned. They also, we bought
good
packets
price.
of googly
That's right.
eyes.
Yes.
They were like R5 for a big packet
Yes.
of googly eyes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you get a box full of those things, let the kids go
And
mad.
let them just go crazy. Yeah.
And you've
Create
given us
something.
the idea of creating your own reality show, the Survivor show. You got the dirt tracks, the musicals.
Yeah, my daughter's into those puppets, the ones that you make it where you take a socks.
Yes.
Yes.
And then, yeah, you can put the googly eyes in there, and then you can just make a nose or whatever you desire. And then we even made cut out like a piece of box and made like glasses, like
Oh,
with
wow.
paper
That's
around
awesome.
it. So those kind of stuff
You
can
can
keep you
use
going for some time
Paper
as well.
and make finger puppets as
Yeah,
well.
finger
Yeah.
puppets as well. You can
So
do that, and then
lots of
create your own
things.
show after that.
Come on, we've given people millions
So
of
many
ideas.
ideas.
Now, as we mentioned earlier, we called on our followers to send us some suggestions for family and budget-friendly activities over the holidays. We'd like to share some of the top suggestions with you. Zayda Solomons wrote quite a few suggestions. This was our favorite. For the days in between when going out isn't an option, Pinterest is a wonderful source for ideas. Get the app, Pinterest app, and have a look there. My wife is the hugest Pinterest fan. Homemade Play-Doh and paints also keeps her kids entertained for hours. She says even I can't resist in joining in the playing. Lizzie Malumani wrote, my daughter loves baking and I'm going to spend some time in the kitchen with her. My other plan for this December holiday is to plant a few plants in our garden. Oh, that was the other one we had about creating the garden. And I want my daughter to be part of this. Growing plants will be great fun. And it's even more fun if my daughter can watch her work get bigger and flower in front of her eyes. I think that's a wonderful idea. Claire Fitzgerald made an interesting suggestion. Geocache is always fun. Pack a picnic, hit the road. We've had to do some research about geocache, and it looks like a very interesting activity. It's an outdoor recreational activity in which participants use a GPS, a global positioning system receiver, or a mobile device. It's not just a phone, is it? And other navigational techniques to hide and seek containers called geocaches or caches at specific locations marked by coordinates all over the world. In fact, that's quite a big thing. Somebody was mentioning like Pokemon.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go.
My son and my husband, they go together to go and catch Pokemon. And you know, we were visiting someone in hospital the one day and off they went down the corridors looking for Pokemon.
Have you caught Pikachu yet?
Yes.
Ah.
Well, I haven't, they have apparently.
But at what time?
I was just conversation that's meaningless to me.
I was just thinking, you know, the very same way if the devices are not working, the battery is dead, why don't you create your own stuff? You like hide stuff around the house or maybe even outside and have little clues at certain places of where to actually go and find those stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And you can create that kind of stuff as well.
We often go to Morgan Bay for holidays, and at the Morgan Bay Hotel, they have a thing for the kids, a treasure hunt, and it keeps the kids entertained.
We did that for Easter.
They've got to run into the bar and count the number of bar stools, for example.
Yes.
I wouldn't say buy some of the owners, some of the residents a beer, that never comes into it. But you can do so much, and the kids go mad for something that keeps an entire group of kids busy for the whole day. You were going to say something at that point?
I was just going to say for Easter, I think Lloyd mentioned it as well, we did you can do an Easter egg hunt at night, and I'm fairly certain you can do something similar for Christmas as well.
Absolutely.
With just the flashlights and just let them loose in the garden.
Yes.
And
an Easter egg hunt, at Easter, you hunt Easter eggs. Christmas, whatever's Christmassy. Christmas pudding, you can make it work, fit the mood.
You find from China.
There'll be something at the Chinese market.
Yes, they really will.
Well, we'll wrap it up there. Lloyd, we know it's a busy time for you. When do we next see you in action? What's your December going to be like?
We've got a barnyard show coming up on the 4th and on the 5th. The barnyard, I think one in Johannesburg, and then barnyard show coming up in Durban by Gateway. That's a public shows. Other than that, there's a whole bunch of stuff, which is most of it is corporates. I have a brand new single out that's called Daydreaming. It's available on iTunes. Go and get it. It's awesome. And you can follow me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram just to keep in touch and to see where
It's just
I'm
your
at.
name, Lloyd
Cele. Yeah, I love the way you pronounce my surname, by the way.
We've been practicing all that. But as easy as that. Bronwyn, what have you got planned for the holidays then for the kids?
We're going away for a week, and then it's at home. It's baby's first Christmas, and we're big Christmas fans, so making it very special for baby.
Fantastic. And Stacey, you and the five of you, the 4 boys.
Plus our Labradors.
Oh, the dogs as well. Okay.
So we're taking our silver Mercedes Vito, which we call the Starship Enterprise, and we're heading down to Omar and Opa, who live in Kenton-on-Sea. The boys love going there. Omar's great. She takes them hunting for insects in the garden, and she preserves their little bodies with sticky tape. It's very scientific. So towards Christmas we'll be heading down there, and before then, well, we've got 2 weeks of keeping the kids entertained at home.
I think we've given each other plenty of ideas here.
Yes. Did somebody write that down, guys?
Gonna tape this.
Yes, exactly. Go watch it back on YouTube and Facebook. Well, Lloyd, Bronwyn, Stacey, thank you very much for coming in and sharing all of your ideas. I hope you have great holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's an absolute pleasure. I hope we've given you lots of ideas for what to do over the Christmas period with the kids. 36 days of keeping them away from boredom. Good luck to you. Thanks so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you again on the next IRIS session. From me, David O'Sullivan. Bye-bye.